Hello, everybody, and welcome to chapter 23 of the book of Bereishit as we continue to travel through Tanach. Chapter 23 has 20 verses, so it's a bit shorter, and it's found in the Koran Saks Chumash on page 138 and 139. This chapter marks the beginning of Parshat Chayei Sarah, because it talks about the passing of Sarah, which is referred to as Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, which teaches us a lot about the Jewish view on life and bereavement. Our chapter tells us that Sarah dies at the age of 127 in Kiryas Arba in Hebron, and the chapter focuses on Avraham seeking to secure a proper burial place for her. He has to go through a lengthy negotiation with the local people, the Bnei Ches, and insists on paying full price for Maras Machpelah, the cave of Machpelah, which is owned by Ephron. And our chapter carefully records the legal details of this transaction, emphasizing that Abraham acquires the land openly and permanently, making it the first piece of land in Canaan that Abraham legally owns, which anchors the divine promise in physical reality and provides an answer to the question of whether the Jewish people really are entitled to the land of Israel or not. In fact, the Cave of Machpelah will become one of three land purchases recorded in the Tanakh, the other two being the area of Shechem and the area of the Makom HaMikdash, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. With that introduction in mind, let us turn to chapter 23, verse 1. Vayihiyu chayei Sarah, mea shana, ve'esrim shana, ve'sheva shanim. Sarah's lifetime, the years of Sarah's life were 127. Rashi picks up on the unusual structure. Instead of saying 127, the verse breaks it down. Mea shana, ve'esrim shana, ve'sheva shanim. And he points out that at the age of 100, she was as free of sin as someone who was 20. And at the age of 20, she still had a natural beauty like that of a 7-year-old. There are other beautiful explanations as well around how this verse is expressing how Sarah utilized all of her days and all of her years to live life to the maximum and to achieve everything that she was destined to achieve. Verse 2, Vatamas Sarah beKirias Arba, and Sarah died in Kirias Arba, he Chevron, which is Chevron, Be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Vayavo Avraham lispod Sarah v'livkosa. And Avraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. You may notice that the kaf of the word v'livkosa is smaller than the other letters, and there are lots of different reasons and explanations as to why there is this differentiation. Vayakam Avraham me'al pnei meso. Then Avraham rose up from beside his dead. Vaydaber el bnei Ches lemar, and he spoke to the children of Ches, to the Hittites, saying, verse 4, Ger v'soshav anochi imachem. I am a migrant and a resident among you. Tnu li achuzas kever imachem. Sell me a burial site here with you. Ve'ekbara mesi milfanai, so that I can bury my dead. Ger v'soshav. Ger indicates a degree of temporary dwelling. A toshav indicates someone who is dwelling there more permanently. In these two words, Avraham expresses the challenge for all of us in this world, where we are but visitors in Olam Hazeh and building ourselves up for life in Olam Haba. Nevertheless, he is also indicating to Bnei Ches that he is on the one hand passing through, while on the other hand looking to establish a degree of permanence with this burial place. Vayanu v'nei Ches es Avraham lemor lo. The Hittites answered Avraham, saying, Shma'enu Adoni, Nasi Elohim ata b'sochenu. Hear us, my Lord, you are a prince of God in our midst. B'mivcha kvarenu kvar es mesecha. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. Ish mimenu es kivra lo yochle mimecha mikvo mesecha. None of us will refuse you his tomb to bury your dead. Verse 7, Vayakam Avraham, Avraham rose, Vayishtachu la'am ha'aretz livnei Ches, and he bowed down to Bnei Ches, to the Hittites, the people of the land. Verse 8, Vaydaber itam lemor, and he said to them, Im yesh es nafshechem likbor es mesi milfanai, if you are willing to allow me to bury the dead that lies before me, shma'uni ufigu li be'Ephron ben Socha, then hear me and intercede on my behalf with Ephron, son of Sochar. Verse 9. V'yiten li es ma'aras hamachpela asher lo. Let him sell me the cave of Machpelah that he owns, asher biktzei sadehu, that is on the edge of his field. Bechesef malei yitnena li. Ask him to sell it to me at the full price, b'sochachem la'achusas haver, as a burial site in your midst. This name, the Ma'aras HaMachpelah, the cave of Machpelah, there are different reasons why it has this name. Our rabbis suggest that Machpelah is associated with the word kaful, or couple, because of the couples who will be buried in this place. We're taught that it becomes the resting place for our avos, for the forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and their wives. And Adam and Eve are also buried in the cave of Machpelah. Verse 10, Ve'Ephron Yoshev Besoch B'nei Ches. Ephron was sitting among the B'nei Ches, among the Hittites. Vayan Ephron Hachiti es Avraham, Ba'oznei B'nei Ches. And Ephron the Hittite answered Avraham in the hearing of the children of Ches, L'chol Ba'ei Shar Iro Lemor, all those who had come to the city gate. And our rabbis point out that up until now, Ephron had actually just been a regular guy. But in the anticipation of this conversation and the need for Avraham to be able to purchase this site, the strings were pulled behind the scenes that led to Ephron actually becoming one of the leaders of these people. And this is why there are so many people around him at the time of this conversation, which means that there are so many witnesses to this transaction taking place. Verse 11. Lo Adoni shma'eni hasadeh nasati lach. No, my lord, hear me, I will give you the field, v'hamara asher bo, lecha nasatiha, and I will give you the cave that is in it. Le'enei v'nei ami nasatiha lach kavor meisecha. In the presence of my people, I give it to you, kavor meisecha, bury your dead. Verse 12, Vayishtachu Avraham lifnei am haaretz. Avraham bowed down again before the people of the land. Verse 13, Vaydaber el Ephron, and he said to Ephron, Ba'oznei am haaretz lemor, in the earshot of all the people, saying, Ach im ata lu shma'eni, please, would that you would hear me, Nasati kesef hasadeh, kach mimeni. I give you the money for the field, take it from me. Ve'ekbara es mesi shama, so that I can bury my dead there. At first, Ephron is trying to give him this site for free, but with Avraham's persistence, he will slowly reveal that Ephron really does want to accept money for this purchase. And this is why we have this curious dialogue between Avraham and Ephron. It's also worth noting that this verse becomes the source for why it should be that when a man wants to marry a woman, one of the modes of acquisition is through kesef, through some financial transaction. The Gemara at the beginning of Maseches Kedushin connects the concept of a man taking a wife and Avraham acquiring or taking the site of Ma'aras HaMachpelah in Hebron. These two are connected, and one of the beautiful explanations for this is that our rabbis want us to understand that for Avraham and for Ephron, these were two individuals coming from two completely different starting points, and yet they, by the end of this conversation, will feel like they have got for themselves the best deal they could possibly get. Ephron walks away with a lot of money. Avraham walks away with this choice burial site for his wife, despite the big price. Similarly, when two people get married, both the chassan and kala, the bride and groom, should appreciate and understand that they are getting the best deal for themselves. So, what seems like two very disconnected topics ends up producing a beautiful idea for a couple to be able to start their married life with. Verse 14, Vayan Ephron es Avraham le'imor lo. Ephron answered Avraham and said to him, Adoni, my lord, shma'eni, hear me. Eretz arba meos shekel kesef beini uvencha mahi. A piece of land worth 400 silver shekels. What is that between you and me? Ve'es mesacha kavor. Bury your dead. And this is where our rabbis understand that there was a price for this land, and it's an expensive price for this land, because all of a sudden, Ephron has plucked this number seemingly out of thin air, which reveals his intentions all along. Verse 16, Vayishma Avraham el Ephron. Avraham heard Ephron, he heard the undertone of what Ephron was saying to him. Vayishkol Avraham le Ephron es hakesef, asher diber be'oznei v'nei ches. He weighed out for him the price that he had mentioned to the Hittites. Arba meos shekel kesef over la soicher. 400 silver shekels at the merchant's standard rate. Verse 17, Vayakam Sadeh Ephron, Asher b'Machpelah, Asher lifnei Mamre. So Ephron's field in Machpelah, near Mamre, Hasadeh, the field, Vahamara, Asher bo, and the cave that's in it, V'chol ha'etz, Asher b'Sadeh, and all the trees within the field, Asher b'chol gvulo saviv, within the field's borders, LaAvraham, LeMikna, LeEnei v'nei Ches, was passed to Avraham as his possession in the presence of all the Hittites, b'chol ba'ei sha'ar iro, all who had come to the city gate. So we see the tricky negotiator Ephron over here. What started off as a purchase for a cave has become a big real estate deal for a field and the trees and the cave as well. But what is so significant is that this is a legal transaction, which means that Avraham and all of his descendants now own that land. Verse 19, V'acharei chen, afterwards, Kavar Avraham es Sarah Ishto, Avraham buried his wife Sarah, El Maras, Sedei HaMachpelah, in the cave in the field of Machpelah, Al Panei Mamre, he Hebron, near Mamre, that is Hebron, Be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. And finally, verse 20, Vayakam Hasadeh, V'hama'ara Ashebo, La'avraham La'achuzas Kaver, Me'es B'nei Ches. And so the field and its cave passed from the Hittites to Avraham as a burial site. And that concludes chapter 23. And please God, in chapter 24, with Sarah now buried, Avraham will be looking to find a wife for his son Yitzchak, so that Yitzchak can continue the story of the birth of the Jewish people. I look forward to learning that with you. In the meantime, have a wonderful and meaningful day.